Okay, so this is the effect we are trying to recreate. So let's get to it. Now in Blender, let's go to our motion tracking tab and drop in our background footage. So this is it. Let's try to track this as best as we can. So click set scene frames, then prefetch, then detect features. This is quite enough. So let's track forward. Not a lot of movement here, so we should be good. And detect features again at the end and track backwards. So after deleting all the bad markers, let's try to solve the camera. We get something very wild. So what we should do is to clean up the tracks. So clean tracks and bring this reprojection error up so we have a few of the markers selected, and let's hit X to delete, and let's solve that again. I will have a 0.6, so let's repeat that process one more time, selecting even fewer markers, X, delete. Let's try that again. 0.4. Okay, one last time. X to delete, self camera motion. 0.28, that is fine by me. So let's go to output and switch the resolution because it's a vertical video. Then click setup tracking scene, then click on 3 markers on the floor to draw a triangle, then hit floor. Now let's go further just a little bit more and let's see how that looks. Soft camera motion. 0.21, I think this is good. Now let's select 3 track markers on the floor and hit floor. Nice. We have our floor tracked. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I like this, but it's a lot smaller than I expected. So just click this two, this and this, and set scale. Yeah, this is what we want. So go to your layout and see, make sure that it's well tracked. Yep, this looks very accurately tracked. Let's go into edit mode, GZ -1. So this is flush with the bottom. Want to have 3 different keyboard buttons on the floor. So let's scale this down and let's rotate it so it lines up on the Z axis. It lines up with these guys here. So we want the buttons to be lined up on this part of the floor. So let's just take this guy and move it around till you get there. So on the Y axis. Now you don't want it to stand on it, you want this top side to be there. This is what I mean, yeah. You want it to line up with the top. Like this, yeah. So edit mode, face select, click on this face and move it down so it lines up with this line. You want the top to line up with this line. Good. Now let's scale it on the Z axis. So this will basically be our hole. Now let's make it more of a square. So yeah, more of a square. So let's bring that over here. Over here. Let's take a look at it in the wireframe mode. Yeah, it is well aligned. You can see. Good. Now what we want to do is enter edit mode, click on the top face and then P and separate selection. Then click on this face, enter edit mode, select all, ES and scale. Scale until you can't see the bottom part of the box anymore. So here, cool. Now let's press X and faces to delete the extra face it added. And then let's also click on this middle face and also delete this face. So we have something like a hole. Let's go to cycles. Visibility. Okay, instead of hold out, let's use the shadow catcher. Yeah. Now in the rendered view, we should be able to see our hole. Let's add an environment texture. We want something sunny. Go to film and click transparent. Now there we have it. Let's go to camera and make this background image very visible. So you see we have our hole. Now let's go to material, create a new material, make it very black. Yeah, so we have a hole right there. I want to give this hole some thickness. So this box, let's just apply scale first of all, and then use a modifier solidifier. Yeah, that much is enough, that much thickness. And also let's bring this up a little bit, just bring it above the ground. Yeah, so we can see like a black casing above the, exactly, this is what we want, a black casing, like a space where the keyboard keycaps would be. Cool. Now let's copy this too, and let's first bring it down here, then duplicate it, Shift D on the Y axis to put it right beside it, and duplicate it again on the Y axis to bring it here. Now let's see how this looks right now. Yeah, very weird. This is not what we want. We want to adjust this holdouts, the shadow catchers. So in edit mode, let's go to edge select and bring this one on the Y axis until we are no longer covering the hole, and do the same thing for this middle one on this side. Drag it till, yeah, we're no longer covering, and for this other side, drag it here, and do the same thing for this last one. Drag it down here. Boom. Now we have 3 separate holes. Let's check it out in the rendered view. Nice. Okay, there is a weird line here. What is causing that? Oh, okay. Let's bring this a little bit further so it covers up. Yeah. Now let's see that again. Beautiful, seamless holes. So we can adjust this because it looks like they're not really aligning with the actual patterns on the floor. We can just easily do a R and rotate it just a little bit. For this one, let's also rotate it so it lines up, and let's bring it in the X axis so it also lines up here, and do the same thing for this guy too on the X axis a little bit. Yeah, now we can adjust this one, G, Y, Y, or we can use just this vertex here and move it on the Y axis. Good. Now we have 3 holes that are lining up with our floor. Now the next thing we want to do is to add our keycaps. So I got these 3 keycaps from a keyboard I downloaded on CG Trader. So let's just align them now. So this is paste. Let's just make sure each of them lines up with our box here. Let's bring it here and rotate it a bit, scale it down a bit. Make sure it's smaller than the box, but not too much. You just want a little bit of a gap. What you can also do is to adjust this box to fit exactly this keyboard, but that's up to you. I didn't do that in my video. Let's also bring this way. Yeah, so it's somewhere in the center. And also, let's do that for this guy too. Bring it this way, rotate it, scale it down around the same size as this, and bring it in the center and align the rotation. Yeah, I think we're good now. Then for this one, let's do the same thing here. Scale it down a bit, rotate it a bit, and bring it around here. Now we need to adjust the hole. So for this tool, let's first bring this one down so we can no longer see that it's an edgeless keyboard, and do the same thing for this guy. Bring it down. let it be at a similar level so it's believable. And this brings this down also at the same level. Okay, good. Now let's adjust this hole to fit this keyboard. So let's click on the shadow catcher, click on this edge select this edge here, and GYY to move it this way. Yeah, this is enough. And do the same thing for the hole. Click on the edge, GYY to move it this way. Good. Now let's see from the top. Oh my. Okay, yeah, let's use the face select here. Yeah, select the entire face and move it GYY. Imagine I didn't see that. Okay, we're good now. Good. Now let's take a look at it in the camera view. Already looking very nice. This is good. This is good. So let's do the animation part of it. So at frame 1, let's add a Z location, and this one wants to come down slowly, so let's say in 20 frames bring it down a bit down here. Insert new keyframe. So let's see how that looks. Yeah, you press it, and after you press it, let's say at frame 30 bring this one down, insert Z location, and after about 10 frames, no, after about 7 frames, let's bring it down and insert new keyframe. Yeah, let's see how that looks. Control. Okay, it should come back up. So copy this first keyframe, make sure it's just this one selected, then count 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and drop it so it comes up and down. Yeah, Control, then C, then after a while say 60. We do it for the V. I think we can just copy and paste this. Yeah, I can just copy the keyframes and paste it here. That should work. Control C, V. Yeah, so let's do this V a couple times. V, and then at 90 V, and then at say 115 V. Then let's do it fast 3 times. 1 and again 1 and again 1. So let's end our animation at 185. Now let's see how that looks like. Control C, V, 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 V. Yeah, pretty much. Got faster at the end. So let's match the simulation to all of this. First, we drop in our keyboard. This is the keyboard we'll be working with today. Let me take out this light. This is the keyboard. Let's bring it down. You could scale it however you want. You could adjust this however you please. The rotation. Now this is the fun part. At the point where you hit V, at the point where it moves down at the lowest here, let's go to rigid body and rigid body world and cache and start the simulation at that point. So at 66, that's when the simulation should start. Now let's add in a force field. Let's make this, make sure they are like, yeah, same center. Make sure your force has a strength of minus a high number, say minus 500 or minus 600. Let's see how that looks. Okay, we don't have rigid body yet, so let's add rigid body to this guy here. Rigid body active, yeah, and change this to box, because it calculates box a lot easier. If it was a unique geometry, we can make it mesh, but just because this is pretty much almost flush, it's pretty much a box, right? It's pretty much a rectangular 3D shape. Cool. Now let's see what that looks like at frame 66. yeah, starts moving around. So what we want to do now is to take this guy, duplicate it here, then at frame 66, when this thing is pressed down, we want to hit a scale keyframe. So hit I here, then go one frame back. So at 65, change this to something small, like say 0.0001. Then add another keyframe. So let's see what that looks like. Yeah. Now you can adjust the location of this. Let's bring it closer. Yeah, let's see what it looks like. Good, it's already working. So let's just repeat that entire process for different parts of the clicks. So it clicks here, then it clicks here. So at 87, let's copy this guy and duplicate it around here. Then move, just hit G over the timeline. Then move this keyframes here. Yeah, so you want it to pop out at this point. Okay, things are going crazy, but no problem, no problem. Let's just keep going. So at this point, when is the next one? The next one happens here, 122. So duplicate this guy again and G to move this over to 122. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, lovely. I'm really loving it. So for this one, I think it came down here again. So at 142, let's duplicate it, move it somewhere else around. Just pay attention to where the center is. Then G to move it to 142. And then just keep doing that for the rest of it. So let's press down here again. Shift this around here. G to move it there. But we don't need to actually do this in the camera view. So we can move it around and it gets down here finally, 177. Take this one, move it around here, then bring this to 177. Cool. Let's see how that looks like. Paste, paste, paste. Nice. Okay, there is no flow here, so that's why it's acting super crazy. Let's add our ground in. I don't like how it's intersecting. Is that a problem? Yeah, I don't like how the ground is intersecting. Let's bring it, rotate it this way, and just bring it out here. Yeah. The shadows should be somewhere around here. So let's kill this on the Y axis. What we need to do now, since we have our ground, is to make our ground a passive rigid body. Very important. So these things can bounce off the ground. We want it to be able to bounce off while it's exploding. Okay, maybe not maybe not bounce off that much. To contain this entire simulation, we can add a UV sphere and scale it this much, just big enough that it's not intersecting with the ground. And let's make this a passive rigid body and also make it invisible. So turn it off here and here, and let's see what that looks like. Uh-oh. Let's change this from convex hull to mesh. Rigid body just be acting crazy. Let's try that again. Yeah, so it's containing the simulation. But I saw one fly out. Okay, how did that happen? I'm thinking it flew out because it was already outside. Let's see. Yeah, it was outside. Yeah, so let's bring this one at 121, bring it inside. Cool, let's see that again. Perfect, perfect. We have our effect here. Yeah, we have it working. Let's go to the render view and let's bake this. Go to rigid body world and you can just bake it outright, or you can increase this sub steps to 20, which is what I did. and let's hit bake. So we have it in memory. Now if we hit render, let me put 20 samples and hit render, we would have it looking good. We're gonna have the background image in there, we're gonna have all the renders in there, and that is fine if that's what you're looking for. But personally, I like having control over the individual footages, so I like rendering it without a background. But let's see. Okay, as you can see, we have it looking good, except for, thankfully I actually rendered it, so except for this part, the shadow catcher is cut in here, so you just need to extend it. But yeah, you could render it like this, but I like to have control over my footage, like I said. So let's extend this shadow catcher, and also let's delete these collections here. Yeah. Do I want to interfere with this, guys? If I scale it on this axis, I will interfere with my hole. What I can do is to add a loop cut here, very close, and then extrude just this edge. So E on this axis, and yeah, we'll have our shadows there. Yeah, I think it looks good now. There you have it, guys. This is how you create this effect completely. So have fun with this, you know, put different products there, change the timing, and make it look cool. If you're interested in diving deeper, I'm launching a VFX course. The link will be in the description. We can go really deep and talk about things like compositing, things like color grading, things like how to shoot this footage, how to make sure you have good tracks. So yeah, if you want to take it to the next level, the link will be in the description, and I'll see you in the course.